What's up? Oh, I still have that film on from last one. Okay, that's better. What's up? It's John here from JJS Consulting Tech, and I'm a little under the weather, just a bit. My voice isn't 100%. But we're gonna get right through this. Yeah, we're gonna try to get through this stream. So in this stream, we're gonna talk more about your streaming setup, particularly your audio streaming setup. Now, audio is one of the most important things when it comes to streaming because if your viewers can't hear you, they can't understand what you're trying to say. And therefore, you trying to convey your message is null and void. So you must 100% fix your audio. Yes, we're going to get into lighting. Yes, we're going to get into the camera. We're going to get into maybe some LUTs, some accent lights in the back and etc. to kind of separate you from the background. But first and foremost is your audio. Now, I've received a lot of comments about my audio being nice, about it being crispy. You're able to hear it clearly, and it's just easy to listen to. So we're going to get into a few of those things. So what do you do when you are starting? Like what mic to buy, what cable to get, what audio interface to get, and etc. How do you know the difference? Well, let's start with the mic. There are two types of mics, two types of main mics. There are dynamic microphones and there are compressor microphones. So what's the difference between the two? Well, let's go to Rode. So I pulled up a pretty nice article from the Rode website. Hopefully you guys can see that. Oh, you cannot. Hold up. Let me do a little tweaking so you guys can see my magnifying glass. Screen sharing. Let me get the entire secondary display. Okay, cool. So, good. You guys should be able to see all of that. Now, the words might be a little small. See if we can fix that. All right, that's a little better. Okay, cool. So, dynamic versus condenser microphone, which is the best for gaming and streaming. So this is a great article from Rode, and I'm not going to read this entire thing. I'm just going to read some of the key points that they listed under dynamic microphones and condenser microphones. There's some really important things to understand so you don't choose the wrong microphone. So it starts with dynamic microphones. To get the all right, yeah, let's read that. To get an idea of the advantages of a dynamic mic, it's useful to understand how they work, which is true. Dynamic microphones contain a thin diaphragm, so that's a small little membrane of sort between. Let's just continue reading. A thin diaphragm that is attached to a coil of wire suspended in a magnetic field. As sound waves hit the diaphragm, it vibrates to the coil, which then interacts with the magnetic field to create an electrical circuit. Okay. This is important. Now, this part is important. Dynamic mics are less sensitive than condenser mics by design. So you will usually require to, will usually require you to be right close to the mic to get the best possible sound. So, for instance, this is why you need to be so close to a mic like this. The Shure SM7B. This is a dynamic microphone. And this checks off that box. You have to be really, really close to this microphone. in order to get a pretty good sound from it. That's not all. The reason that is, let's keep reading. Yeah, where were we? Right here. It says, and they generally need more gain to reach similar levels to their condenser counterparts. This lower sensitivity means they are excellent at isolating your voice while rejecting background noise, such as air conditioners, keyboard noises, and mouse clicks, and etc. So that's a plus about the dynamic microphones. They need a lot of gain because they aren't as sensitive as condenser microphones, and they need to be right up to your mouth to get like the best sound, that broadcasting sound. Let's go to condenser microphones and see how that is kinda the opposite of a dynamic microphone. Okay, so condenser microphones feature a capsule that contains a diaphragm placed very close to and blah, 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 blah. Sound waves hitting the diaphragm, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here. The preamp and sometimes the backplate requires power to operate, which is provided either by batteries, phantom power from a mixer, external preamp audio interface, or a computer. And here is where it really differs as well. Condenser mics are more sensitive than their dynamic counterparts. This means they're not quite as particular about where they're positioned compared with the dynamic microphones and can be placed further away from the mouth. However, this increased sensitivity also means they're more likely to pick up background noise if you're in an environment that is not well soundproofed. Yes, so that's the big difference between a dynamic and a condenser microphone. So again, with a dynamic microphone like an SM7B, it won't pick up a whole lot of background noises because you can bring it a lot closer to your mouth, and it needs a lot of gain in order to pick up a whole lot of background noise. So if you're in a room that's not as well treated, a dynamic microphone is pretty good. But you still need something like a Rodecaster, a Mix Pre, or a good audio interface. If your audio interface doesn't have enough gain, you're gonna need a cloud lifter to boost those signals because dynamic microphones tend to be pretty gain hungry. Condenser microphones, on the other hand, you don't really need that much gain. They are way more sensitive, and that can be a negative if you're not in a room that's kind of sound treated. Yeah, kind of sound treated. So if you have your fridge running in the background, if you have AC and etc., that's more likely to pick up all of that stuff. So that's where you start. Depending on what background or what room that you're in, it'll determine if you go with a dynamic or a condenser microphone. They have pros and cons. Also, there are differences between a condenser, a large diaphragm condenser, and a small diaphragm condenser as well. So, let's see. A large diaphragm condenser microphone. So, let me look at my notes real quick so I'm not misleading anyone. Okay, great. So a large diaphragm has less self-noise, meaning noise coming from the mic, and it has a big, lush, warm sound. So a large diaphragm condenser microphone adds to your voice. While, on the other hand, a small diaphragm condenser, it's more sensitive and it doesn't add any coloration to your voice, meaning that it's more natural. So depending on what type of sound you want to convey to your audience, if you want to add something to your voice to make it sound more lush and warm and etc., you will go with a large diaphragm microphone. If, on the other hand, you want audience to hear your natural voice, like if you're a musician or something and you're singing and you're adding effects, you don't really want to add or use a large diaphragm. Depends on how it sounds. So those are kind of the differences between the microphones. So after you pick a microphone, pick the right audio cable. Yes, audio cables are very important. So I tend to like the, let's see, let's go to B&H. B&H is the store. B&H has all you need for audio. Sweetwater as well. Sweetwater is pretty good. Let's see. Now, these right here, the Canary Star Quad XLR cables. These cables are so good. So one of the most, let's see, one great attribute about this microphone, does it even list it? 4078. Yes. Okay. So they have really good EFI RMI rejection. Let's go to the Canary website. And I'll try to explain without getting too nerdy what that means. All right, so Star Quad, yeah, so they are braided and they are shielded as well. So what all of this means is that, for instance, if you are rubbing up, like if your XLR cable is rubbing against the power, most non-shielded XLR microphones, they will have a buzzing sound because those signals will transfer from the power brick to the XLR cable, and your mic will pick that up. Or if you have like monitors, like studio monitors, and you are rubbing your XLR cables against a power cable, like for instance, try to keep your XLR cables away from all power cables. That's the first thing. But if you can't for some reason, getting a shielded XLR cable will solve that issue. And the other good brand that is good at rejecting those type of signals is Mogami Gold. But I want you to see the price difference. Excuse me. Let's just use another B&H tab. I gotta learn how to type. Okay, so do you see the price difference? A Mogami Gold cable, 10 feet, is $67. While Canary, 10 feet, is $24. Huge difference. They have different sounds, and they have different sound signature as well. So if you attach a Mogami Gold to a Shure SM7B, it's going to bring out the lower frequencies a bit more. which is what you don't want because the SM7B is a pretty dark mic, meaning that it you hear more of the lower frequencies much more than the higher frequencies. But if you attach a canary onto it, it will you won't hear as much as the lower end. So if you have a big boomy voice, it won't be like really annoying to your listeners. So I would go with the Canary stock one. Really good cables, and they're really robust. Just those are pretty good cables. So after after you get the proper cable, what you do is you get a audio interface. So you don't have to get the Rode Procaster. So is that the I keep messing up. Like Rode's naming convention is so. Is it the Rodecaster? Yes, it's the Rodecaster. So they have something named the Procaster, and they have the Rodecaster. So okay, so you don't have to get this. This is a really good audio interface. It comes with a whole lot of benefits. There's also a smaller version to this. It's the Rode Studio. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But it has 2 inputs instead of 4 inputs because you might not need this many inputs. There's also the Rode Streamer X, which is ideal if you just have one microphone and a camera. So this has one input for the microphone and one input for the camera. So this is your capture card and your audio interface all in one. It is limited to what you can do, but it gets the job done. And the preamps are the same as in its bigger brother, which is the Rode Procaster. And the one that, what is that one? The Rodecaster. Well, B&H has a cool. Let's do audio interfaces, and then let's go by brand, and let's do Rode. Rodecaster Duo. So this is the one that has 2 inputs, 2 XLR inputs instead of 4. So it's cheaper than the Rodecaster. So this is another option. These things are really good. I did a video about them. They're really good. They're not professional. They're not professional. They are limited in what they can do, but what they do it well. For instance, you can just plug your SM7B in this, and you can use its built-in EQ, compressor, and etc. to like refine your voice so it can sound very good to your listeners. There are other audio interfaces as well. There are things like the Focusrite, but I would not recommend the Focusrite if you are using a dynamic microphone because you will need something like a cloud lifter to boost the signals. And there are things as well as the universal audio. Now, the universal audio is really good. Let's do brand. You don't have to do the Apollo because the Apollo is what I'm using. And that is for professionals, like musicians, audio engineers. Um, it's a lot of money. But Universal Audio came out with this right here, which is the Universal Audio Volt 2. And this is pretty good. Two audio two XLR inputs, two mic inputs. There's one with four. Four? Ah, it has line inputs. So line inputs you can use for like instruments. And it has one left and right monitor out. I don't know what the 4 is for. Maybe it has 4. So what that for is top. I don't know, but I doubt you would use that. This would be decent for majority of people who are beginning. And see, look, universal audio for 169. Now, the preamps aren't the same as the Apollo, but this is a really good, great sounding audio interface. So yeah, after you get your audio interface, it's best to now set up your mic. Now, meaning, play with some EQing, play with some compressing so your voice can be refined. Because if it's dry, meaning it has no compressing, compressors, EQs, and etc., it's going to sound like, let's do a little demo. Whoa. Let's do a little demo. Okay. And let me pull up UAD. Let me drag that right here. Sheesh. It's tiny. No, there must be a way you guys can see this better. Boom. There you go. All right, so you can see this much clearer. All right, so where my mouse is, this is my microphone. So if it is dry and there is no processing on it, it will sound like this. And that should sound much different than what it was sounding like before. So if you have something like the Rodecaster, you can EQs and then you can add compressors and it will sound nice and crispy and beautiful. Now, it won't sound completely like this, but you don't need it to sound like this if you aren't heavily into audio processing. All you really need is for your audience to hear you clearly. And to fix those things are the basics. Get a good mic, either a dynamic or condenser microphone. So dynamic, you have to be very close to the mic. because it's very gain hungry. Condenser microphone is not as sensitive, but you should have a condenser microphone in a pretty well treated room. A good XLR cable and a good audio interface. Um, best practices for microphone use is be about, let your mouth be probably 4 fingers away. Let me show 4 fingers away from your mouth and have a pop filter. Now, this is a pop filter, so if I don't use the pop filter, you would hear all the plosives, and plosives are all the harsh P's and T's because a whole lot of air rushes out your mouth and hits the capsule of the microphone, and it can be pretty unpleasant. So with the pop filter, that eliminates those, I wouldn't say completely eliminates it, but it removes a lot of those plosives, and it makes it much more easier to listen to. Now, don't be confused. Now, on the SM7B, let me switch this real quick. Now, the SM7B, this is a windscreen. This right here, this is a windscreen. This is not a pop filter. So a windscreen is good if you are outside and it eliminates the wind. It eliminates a lot of the wind noises. It's not the same as a pop filter. Some people also use their SM7B like this as well. So it all depends on if you are in a good enough environment. You can use it like this. You can use this windscreen. You can use a bigger windscreen. But the good thing about these dynamic microphones, like the SM7B, is that, well, not these dynamic microphones, the SM7B. The good thing about it is that you don't really need a pop filter. It has a really good rejection of plosives, maybe because it's so gain hungry that you really don't need it. But if you have a condenser microphone, 9 out of 10 times you will need a pop filter. So after you have those, it's best to get into a little bit of EQ. It might be a little challenging at first, but once you know the basics, you will be good to go. Yeah. So you add a little bit to the highs. Hold on. Before I start messing with this, let me make sure I save my settings so I can get back. Great. All right, cool. So if I was to mess with the highs, it would sound a little different. Mess with the mids, it'll sound much different, and etc. So I am going to the extreme here and doing a whole lot of stuff. Now my voice should sound like very different. Don't be afraid of that. This is how you get to play with it, and this is how you get to engineer your voice so it can sound pleasing to you and your listeners. So once you go to the extreme and then you dial it back ever so slightly, you should hear the difference in your ears, and you'll say, okay, good, I like that, and I like this, I like how that sounds, and you will get to a stage that it is really good. Don't save. Okay, good. Everything should be back to normal. Yes, good. Everything should be back to normal. All right. So, you guys are seeing my notes. So those are the practices for audio streaming. Um, you can it's best to tackle the basics first. The basics meaning getting the right microphone for your space, getting the right cable, and if the budget allows, try to do a little treatment of your room. So you won't pick up a whole lot of reverbs, you won't pick up a whole lot of nasty noises that are going on in the background, like your fridge, your refrigerator, your AC, and etc. So if you can tackle those first, you will see a great improvement in your audio quality. So yeah, that's it for this stream. It was kind of quick, and hopefully you've learned a thing or two and you can start tweaking your audio and having great sounding audio for your live stream audience. So I know this is old year's night. So in a few hours, we'll be celebrating the New Year. So I want to wish everyone a happy New Year. I hope your family is good, and I hope that you are going to be bigger and even better in the new year. So yeah, have a good one, and please be safe. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.